to the Empowered Intuitive Academy podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tay Henderson, and with me is my beautiful co-host, Petra Costa, and you can find us at the Empowered Intuitive Academy on all the socials, YouTube, Spotify. Give us a like, follow, share. We would appreciate your support. Today, we are chatting about bad juju. Is it catching? And safe to say, the concept of bad juju is not what we know it to be traditionally. And very little was found on the actual concept of juju itself, apart from where it comes from. So we thought we would take a little bit of free license with this episode and just chat about how bad juju is seen today and how we understand it in modern sort of spirituality, witchcraft, etc., and then actually illuminate on what it is traditionally and, swing it back around somehow.
Absolutely. So come at things from reverse this time. We're actually going to talk about what we think it is.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go back to where it actually originated.
Yeah.
I've got a little definition here of bad juju. And it is an informal expression that means bad luck, negative energy, or bad karma. It can be used to describe a person, a place, a thing, or anything that just has a bad vibe or aura, or that is haunted, cursed by an evil spirit.
Right.
So it's pretty all-encompassing. Bad juju can also refer to an undesirable or dangerous action or behavior that can have negative consequences.
I also
Okay, so that's like, yeah, I don't need any of that bad juju. Keep your bad juju away from me, kind of thing. And I must admit, I'm 100% in the I can be convicted for the crime of using the term bad juju in that light.
Same.
Right?
And also bad juju can be described as manifest as a string of bad luck or just unfortunate events. Like you turn around and go, oh, you got some bad juju because
exactly.
you keep having shit happen to you all the time. So
100%. And look, and I think they all sort of like make sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like we get a bit confused with luck because we have bad luck as being something that we can draw upon ourselves by what we put out there or by superstitions of what we do. And we can bring on, break a mirror and we get 7 years bad luck and all of like we've talked about that. But luck is more like a random thing that you might just get a string of, in my view. Like it's not something you can make, when they say, oh no, you can make your luck. And I was like, oh, okay, I can make my luck.
This is where we get into the murky waters of like law of attraction and manifestation and all that sort of thing. And, as someone who works with like a deity of luck, so Fortuna, goddess of luck and abundance, prosperity, gambling, from ancient Rome, chance is literally all it is. Chance, circumstances, the way events and things lead on to one another and how we respond and react to those situations. Like a lot of people will see the silver lining and others will just see the dark clouds. And it's a mind over matter thing too of what can contribute to one string of bad luck or one string of good fortune. And there are various beliefs that in either one of those that the penny will drop at some point. Either the luck will turn or there will be a shift in circumstance. So chance really all it comes down to spinning the wheel of fortune.
Yeah, and I think this is again where we like to mix terminologies away from what they originally meant because we want to put a positive spin or we want to make it an educational moment. So we can say, oh, good planning is what good luck's about. It's the birth child of it and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, you're missing the point of what luck is then. Okay, I see what you're saying and, I get what you're saying, but can we just focus on the fact that it's bad luck? So back to bad juju. I have had a string of bad juju recently where you just have a bad feeling of the situation you're in, the circumstance you're in, and it for me it was sort of kind of like I just had this bad vibe around me that I felt like someone or something had hit me with the evil eye and was just going to cause me some havoc. So it was that feeling of almost impending doom.
And I think
Like,
you touch on a good point there. Culturally, across various, peoples and whatnot, there is always a different perception of bad juju, negative karma, evil eye, curses, jinxes, hexes. And
mm,
and this is stuff that can either be brought upon oneself by not currying enough favor with the right
yeah,
spirits or the right deities, or pissing someone off who is in communion with said spirits and deities. And I think this is where bad juju really segues into that type of belief. And we were talking about beliefs and how potent they are in our previous podcast about what people think happens when we die and how that influences our evolution into the afterlife. But this belief that your bad juju has come from somewhere outside of yourself or has been inflicted upon you outside of yourself, whether that
yeah,
be from another person or another being that we can't perceive. Yeah.
yeah. And this is what
That's
this is
what it has.
exactly what it felt like. It
Yeah.
felt like, I went out and I was driving around and I'm like, I'm going to have a car accident. I'm going to have a car accident. And then I didn't have a car accident. But then when I parked my car, I go, someone's going to reverse into me. That person's going to reverse into me. They're doing, construction work. Oh, something's going to, roll and hit my car, or I'm going to. And it was this constant play of me expecting for something bad to happen. It was just like this constant feeling, and
Two sides
it
of that too. I can see two sides. I can see like your intuition is going, there is some funky ass energy hanging around. I need to
yeah,
be careful. I need to stay out of the way of whatever is marauding through. And then the other part is, well, one could argue that's just anxiety. Like your
yes,
extra heightened flight or fight mode that day, and everything you were perceiving was a threat. But
yeah,
think the difference between knowing when you've got like supposed bad juju or just anxiety is that those warnings don't come with the heckles,
yeah,
whereas anxiety, it's like fire in your brain, you're just
yeah,
it's popping off like crackers, where the instinct is like, calm down, there's some shit happening, keep
yeah,
your head and be cautious.
yeah. And it's just funny because that's when I think bad juju, I think about that. But
Yeah.
I also must admit, I do not like it when people are just talking negatively around me, and I'm getting like that, and I'm like going, can we just can we just stop now? Can we just, because I do, and that's where I do feel it's catching.
Yeah.
Like, I really do feel negativity, whether you want to call it karma, bad luck, juju, whatever it is, just that negative emotion when
Yeah.
people are bombarding you with it. I'm fine when you need to get stuff off your chest, when you just need to vent. I'm 100% fine. But
Yeah.
when you're just wanting to only talk about the negative things that are happening in the politics,
Yeah.
in sport, that if everything you're seeing is through shit colored glasses, and then you're inflicting that on me,
Yeah.
I really do like going, oh, I want to get out of this conversation as quickly as possible because I don't want to start seeing the shit in everything. I really don't. I like my rose colored glasses. I like looking at the world with wonder and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that stuff rubs off. I really do.
See,
So if it,
knowing you, I would definitely say you don't look at the world in rose-colored glasses. You probably look at them in more purpley tinted glasses and be like, what's going on in that spectrum, Like, you're always looking.
that's funny.
So, I mean, yeah, and you just don't want that vision of awareness to be occluded with just bullshit. And people take, free range on just emotionally dumping on other people. And what we know from our own subtle energies is that can impact our own energetic fields. I mean, I've been studying a herbalism class, and the first thing it talked about was the meridians in Oriental energetic work, and how that can become blocked or imbalanced just simply by our thought, our behaviors and patterns.
Patterns.
I made a new word, behaviors.
I love it.
Behaviors and patterns, but also those of others in our environment, like what we're constantly around. So, you know, and I get a bit the same. I get a bit sick of people just nattering on, not doing anything about something. But if they know they can't do something about it, they won't be honest about their blocks. They won't be honest about what's actually preventing them from growth and that, because they just want to stay in that little field of negativity, like that.
Yeah,
that's where they're comfortable, and then they carry that around like a little rain cloud. And I get it. This is not talking about depression, anxiety, mental health. This is just talking about a generally pessimistic mindset that gets carted around. And I feel like the most experience I've had with that is actually in close relationships and in my own family, as opposed to society, like those limiting beliefs that keep us in check.
Yeah, and that kind of concept too feeds into when we're talking about Bad JUJU. It's now linked with karma.
Yeah.
Right. So it's basically bad karma. I don't want that bad karma in my life as well. And so I was looking into, you know, karmic response and all of that kind of stuff. And when you have connections with people, and it lost me a bit, I must admit. I'm a big believer in karma. I really am. Like what you put out into the world will eventually come around and bite you in the ass if you're sending out the right 100%. I actually wish that I was karma's bitch and that I'd actually be able to go around and help her out a little bit.
Punishments like part.
Oh my God, that person over there, I'm on it. I'm on it. I'd love that. But it doesn't work that way in my worldview. It doesn't work that way. But you can have like karmic connections that brings up things in your life when you meet someone and lessons learned and da da da.
Yeah.
It all gets, again, we get into the realm of new age again.
Yes.
And it's funny how something as simple as juju, and I'm going to call juju now, not bad juju, because we're going to start moving into the actual history of this stuff.
Yeah.
It started to be linked with karma, with laws of attraction, with all of these things. And I'm like, can we keep some things separate?
Yeah.
I know we're trying to find our own version of a unified theory in everything, and we want everything to be proof positive of the fact that everything's interconnected. But Jiminy Crickets, you're driving me a little bit crazy with how much you have to find that, you know, quantum physics proves karma and karma then proves juju.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just this knock-on effect.
It's consequential. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, like I actually did find something in here. Am I allowed to trip into actual juju now?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Or you've got more?
Well, juju, I think the warping of juju, like the concept of it, actually started with like the integration of the traditions of hoodoo with Catholicism and Christianity, because as you could imagine, quite separate traditions. Like hoodoo is ancestral, it's folk magic, it's nitty gritty dirt, hands on magic. You know, it uses fetishes, it uses puppets, it summons spirits. It's no bullshit. Whereas Catholicism, Christianity, it's all high magic, it's all ceremony, and there's only one God, the true God, and all that. So we get this fusion, which happens through slavery. And everyone who knows a little bit about voodoo knows that a lot of those traditions were born in Haiti and West Africa, taken over to the Americas and Europe by slaves. And so hoodoo is actually like a fusion of those two. But point I'm getting at is that the Christianity side of it would have seen those practices as bad evil magic, negative energy, negative juju, so to speak, and would have started or appropriated those terms to describe the evil that these traditions, you know, supposedly incur or spread.
And you're so not wrong, because one of my Google searches when I was trying to look up bad juju, they clearly state that the expression bad juju means bad luck or voodoo.
Yeah.
It clearly says the bad juju is voodoo,
yeah,
which is witchcraft in these definitions. And it's a way of describing negative energy and mysticism. Now, I understand the bad in front of it. Let's just say, like juju and luck, you get rid of the bads, but voodoo is not about good nor bad. It's
no,
a practice.
It's not.
And
it's actually
and
quite
it's really irking me the way we have to demonize everything.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, this is a side tangent, but in investigating this and really trying to look into the African roots of juju, I fell onto some websites that were talking about witchcraft in South Africa.
Yeah.
Recent stuff, and the persecution of witches over there is still alive and strong.
Yeah.
They're wanting to bring things into law. They're wanting to go back to that time where they want to bring things into law. And to hear them talk about it, I actually just had to close down the site. And this is reputable things. I was looking on Britannica. This is a reputable source that is just honestly demonizing the concept of witchcraft. And these are practices.
Yeah.
These are practices. One, don't label every type of magical or system that people use as witchcraft.
Yeah.
Can we stop labeling it all and putting everything into the same basket?
Using witchcraft as a negative connotation for beliefs that you fear.
Yeah, because witchcraft,
because it's not evil, it's not all nefarious. I mean, yeah, it has its baneful uses, sure, but that's nature. There's pain and blessing in everything. So
this is more the connotation when they throw witchcraft around, is back in the old days when we think it's communing with the devil, and all you're doing is really cursing your neighbor and cursing someone else and cursing this person, and it's just like, don't get me started. I don't want to make this a religious tirade right here, but it's like, can we please not just put things out there that bad juju equals voodoo? Because it doesn't. It's like it's
the fact that people think voodoo or hoodoo is bad, just bad, like just don't.
Bad.
I'm like, if you actually knew anything about it, and there are shit tons of books and stuff out there now written by actual practitioners. Like, it's become an occult fetish subject. We see it in movies and books and things like that. But if you actually look into the true culture behind voodoo and hoodoo and that, you'll actually realize that it's just folk magic.
Folk magic. The medicine men, the witch doctors, the D's, all of whatever they had lots of different names for them, and I'm only using the ones that I'm aware of, and I know there's many, many more, and I don't want to mispronounce another 20, words today, but they were given the sacred right of being able to protect their tribe or their people with the uses that they were available to them, with ancestral worship and communication, and to try to guide and protect their people.
Yeah.
As you said, there'll be baneful things around that. Well, okay, what's your point?
Yeah.
Our political systems go to war with each other all of the time. That sounds pretty freaking baneful to me.
There is war happening right now and across the world over just bullshit resources and whatever. And they're saying in the African context, so witchcraft should be illegal and actually persecuted within the justice system. So are you gonna actually do something about all the fucking war and the child soldiers and shit happening in the Congo right now? All of the famine, all of the disease, that is not witchcraft. That is man-made misery.
Yep.
And you're not even fucking touching that with a 10-foot pole, but you're quite happy to string up people who are just medicine to their tribe, to their people.
It's like literally, and And let's also point out, just to go on a little bit of science there, when we did study voodoo in Africa, we found some amazing herbal remedies
Yeah.
and herbal substances, which is, you know, the zombie medicine that's actually being used today and studied today to find better anesthetics and better way of doing things. So,
all
like,
pharmaceuticals and pharmacopoeia is plant derived.
yeah. So, like, everybody, please. Okay, I'm going to quickly go here. Juju.
What is
Juju? I'm going to go back onto juju. Juju, technically, going back to what it actually means, is an object that has been deliberately infused with magical power or the magical power itself. It can also refer to the belief system involving the use of juju. Juju is practiced in West African countries such as Nigeria, blah, 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 although its assumptions are shared by most African peoples. It is neither good nor bad, but it may be used for constructive purposes as well as nefarious deeds. One of the most common ones we've seen in movies and that kind of stuff is the monkey's head or monkey's feet, and we can also go into rabbit's foot being part of the fetishes and the things that we use to as protective amulets.
Of juju, I instantly thought of puppets, fetishes, and even the gree-grees that they make
Yes.
food on, which are just like little sachets of herbs and bits and pieces made with an intent. And you know what? It's honestly not that different to European witchcraft, like
Yep.
Western magic.
100%. Now, what I found really, really interesting, juju. Now, I've highlighted, if you could see, I've highlighted this in brightest yellow. Juju operates on the principle of spiritual contagious contact based on physical contact. Spiritual contagious contact, which sort of like confirms the consensus that can bad juju be catching? I think the word contagious might lead us in the right direction there. The underlying belief is that two entities that have been in close contact have similar properties, even after being separated. It then becomes possible to manipulate one in order to reach another. So what they're basically saying is someone puts some juju on something and they put it in your proximity, and then it can then affect your juju. So it can impact you by what it's resonating with. And the practitioner who has access to that item can then influence it even further. I'm just going to read that one little bit, just one tiny bit. Two entities that have been in close contact have similar properties even after being separated. It then becomes possible to manipulate one in order to reach another. I don't want to be one of those people that wants to prove this by, I don't want to do it, but I've got to read this. I've got to do it. We talk about quantum entanglement or atomic entanglement. I'm going to read the definition. Is the phenomenon of a group of particles being generated, interacting, or sharing spatial proximity in such a way that the quantum state of each particle of the group cannot be described independently of the state of the others, including when the particles are separated by large distances. So that a change on one causes a change in another, no matter how far apart they are.
Right, right. So you tell me, you know,
that's not me rewording those. They are both direct quotes from notable sources.
yeah.
Does that not sound similar to you? Like, I'm just like going.
It speaks to me of the fact that our ancients and our indigenous knew a lot more about energy and how it worked than we like to believe they did.
I just think that's crazy. So, like, I think, when people go, oh, it's just ridiculous. The concept that I've got, someone can put something in the mail and I open the mail and it's got something in there and they can then do something to that and that impacts me. Preposterous. It's just a load of bullshit people are saying. But we've proven atomic entanglement now.
Yeah.
Right? Been proved 6 different ways from Sunday.
Yeah.
So people move on. We know that and again, I'm not going to go into quantum physics. I'm really not. But it is the principle that atoms, if they have been they're in close proximity to one another and they have been impacted by, say, a laser energy or some kind of radiation, etc., it can impact the way they spin, the way they react in lots of different ways.
Well,
Yeah, you separate those two.
To a human level, like we said before, you put a positive, happy person in with a group of sad people, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's going to permeate out and it's going to affect their mood. Simple.
Exactly. The trick with this is that with atomic entanglement and with the juju practitioner is that distance makes no matter.
Yeah.
It makes it's no issue at all, which is why atomic entanglement and quantum entanglement is being used for encryptions and all of that kind of stuff, because conceptually the change in one atom happens in the other atom quicker or as quick as the speed of light. So it's virtually instantaneous. So we know that's the case. You could send it to the other side of the universe, and what I do to this one, and until the entanglement has been broken, what I do over here impacts the one over there.
Well,
which
even
is just
the concept of like energy healing and stuff, like
exactly.
You can send energy to anyone at any time. And most of the time it's like we talk about that in healing terms. You do a distance Reiki session or something, and there's literally a symbol that will allow you to transverse space-time to send that energy to that person. So we just have it in the form of a juju, which be that a talisman, amulet, poppet, or fetish. We just have a physical conduit for that, and a means of like tangibly relaying, passing on that energy to that person or whoever is in contact with it.
Okay, so I think I've just scientifically proven the concept that bad juju is catching.
It's catching, but
it's done.
Not necessarily in the plague bear way that we think it is. Like you said earlier, juju is neither good or bad. I mean, it's obviously colloquially been adopted as a form of referring to energy or matter or a spiritual essence. And from my understanding, a lot of these talismans and things like that invoke or call on certain spiritual beings, essences. In the Hudo tradition, it's Lawa, or like their ancestral spirits, to infuse and bring further power to these jujus or items. Now, let's put it into a bit of a different context. Let's say I make you like a good juju for health or healing or whatever, but the concept of it to you is so foreign and scary, and you have the beliefs of like a missionary or something, and I give that to you, you're not going to see that as good juju. You're not going to feel that as good juju. You're automatically going to think it's evil, and then therefore nullify that energy and that magic. So really, again, it feeds into like the belief of what is going to be transposed.
Yes, exactly, because it's a certain level of your energetics that has to connect with what's going on to be able to enable it to happen.
Yeah.
And that's with anything. You go in and you want to get, puncture done. And if you're really not behind it, all you're going to feel like is you're getting a whole bunch of pins stuck in you. You know what I mean? You have to be able to accept what's going on. There'll be some instances where people will feel a change from something that they really didn't believe in. And I would put forward that they always had a little part of them that thought maybe that was the case.
Yeah, they weren't open. They weren't open to receive or open to at least, accept the possibility of something outside of what they believe or what they know.
Now, the problem you got here is let's just say you weren't giving me a nice little grizz bag. You were giving me something else. And they're saying here when you're working this kind of magic, obviously you're using it. You can traditionally using ancestral spirits, but it was also using I've got here people's hair, fingernails, bits of clothing, shoes, socks, something to personalize that item so that you can actually lock the juju down that you're sending to that particular person. Because what you're doing there is just literally giving it an energetic signature.
Yeah, literally giving it a boost, an amplification, a physical tether to said person, or or giving that to.
Yeah, so I'm with all that. Of course, we see that in I've learned everything that I need to know about witchcraft from Supernatural, the series. Dean and Sam are my guides in all of this. So we know if someone takes a bit of hair from you, they've got no good coming your way, right? That's they're doing bad stuff. So what do you do? Let's just say, this is what I'm going to ask you for your expertise, Tay. Someone sends me something that it is bad juju, either a physical thing, or I think they may have a physical thing that they're trying to send this shit my way.
Mm.
And unfortunately, I'm 100% a believer.
Yep.
I believe that someone else's energy can impact mine.
Yep.
How do I combat it? What's the best way to combat it? Because me saying I don't believe ain't going to do diddly squat, because I know there's a bit of me that believes big time.
Yeah. Oh, everybody does. It's in our nature. You might be the most rational, skeptical person on the planet, but deep down, your little instinctual animal brain's going, what is that? You know, like, what is this foreign thing in my field? Like, what was the intent behind it? You know, we're always going to be that little bit susceptible. And so I think the first protocol with that is being able to recognize when it is actually bad juju or negative energy being thrown your way. And there's a few ways that this can exhibit. If it's an item or something someone's put in your vicinity, you tend to be able to feel yeah
Get rid of it if you can.
Fucking leave that here, thank you. You know, you tend to be able to feel the energetics. If you're someone who's like kinesensitive and you can feel energy through the touch of your hands, psychometry, whatever, you will be able to sense the different field density, thickness of that energy, and it will pretty much just automatically be like, oh nah, you know, or oh yes, that's nice. But in the case, oh nah, that's bad juju. A lot of people buy, you know, they buy crystals, they buy jewelry, secondhand stuff has a lot of energetic imprints from where it's been, and that's probably the best example of how you can be exposed to negative
yes energy. Inadvertently
without someone actively sending it to you.
Yeah.
These items have been in places where they've been exposed to lots of negative energy over time, and they've just absorbed it, and then that's become a part of them because, you know, like us, our objects and things are permeable to different energies. So in that sense, you could just cleanse it and try and release that negative energy, get rid of it. And then it's so important when you're cleansing things to then infuse it with different energy. So this is what
so don't leave the void.
Yes, don't leave the void, because what's going to happen is that it's just going to get sucked right back in. It's going to fill up with the
really good point.
Don't want it to be in there. You've created a power vacuum, so to speak. And so that's where I really like to use plants or sound or whatever. I work a lot with smoke. So I will say, and this is where the whole thing with using just straight up sage and stuff like that is not the best way to cleanse anything. Yes, you can use sage as a cleanser. Use it with something else. So a lot of the bundles and things that I use either have rosemary, lavender, rose, different incenses with different botanicals, because they have different energies that you can infuse into the space.
Yep.
If you're using things,
and you can do that with essential oils as well, can't you?
Yeah. So you can diffuse essential oils and stuff and sprays and things. There's a lot of smokeless options now that will cleanse and then reinvigorate with the energies that you are wanting within the space or for that item. Like, say I get this necklace and I get it and it feels off, or I know that somebody who was funky had it before me.
It's funky.
Yeah, someone who was funky, polite way to put it. I got a funky vibe about them, but you know, like to the necklace, you would just cleanse it. Some people sit items and things in salt as well. That tends to just sort of draw out those negative energies. A lot of people like to use selenite, but I don't think selenite is as effective on its own. I think using selenite with like a black crystal to help absorb those negativities, those impurities out of it as well is more effective. Because selenite to me is more like a diagnostic. It tells you when something's dirty and it can start to naturally diffuse it, but it's a gentle stone. It takes more than just,
and I think it works with what's inherent in whatever it's placed near, i.e. if you put it near amethyst, it'll do a good job. It's a great combination, but it's the amethyst that's providing the spark. Selenite's just fueling the spark. Whereas if you've got a necklace that needs help, it can't create the spark.
It can't. And one of the best actually crystals that are great for cleansing and clearing is carnelian. Carnelian and obsidian are my go-tos. They're like, get the fuck out of here.
See, I'm carnelian and smoky quartz.
Yeah, smoky quartz is great too. Smoky quartz is just like, you shouldn't be here.
You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here.
It gives me chills talking about smoky quartz.
Yeah, because I've got a power piece of smoky quartz.
Yes.
And we had like, this is not juju. This is going back more to our haunting episode. But we have something that likes to like play games every now and again.
Yeah.
And when she comes up, it's just like, you just go, really? Like, no one called you.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do the bell ringing. Like, it's like bloody Notre Dame in here when this person arrives. We're going around, we're belling everything we can bell. We've got like 3 different ones, so 3 different sounds going off. And to protect the area is this supercharged, piece of smoky quartz where I'm like, that goes next to my daughter's bed, and it's like, I feel better.
Yes.
Especially when I know that I've already charged that stone up. It's got nothing but protective energies in it.
And you bring up a good point with the stone, because I know there's a particular being in that stone that makes it so very potent. And that's something else that we can do.
It's got a big fuck off energy, that particular being.
Without being like aggressive, it's just like, you shouldn't be here, and oh no, I shouldn't.
You're right. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's another thing. That's another thing in like witchcraft, especially if you're gonna send someone some shit. Be very cautious of the fact that they have ancestors and spirit beings and guides too behind them that mostly will do most of the protective work. They are like the bouncers. Familiars are bouncers. I have a big black dog familiar that comes through and just fucks on shit. If I call on it, just being in my head, being like, there is some shit around, go and suss that out. It will go. So I don't know, that sounds a bit cray-cray and woo-woo, but woo-woo is okay.
Well, sometimes you got to fight woo-woo with woo-woo. We're talking juju here, so juju can only get fought with woo-woo.
You got to fight the fire with the fire a little bit. So if someone's sending you some shit, you might need to look into some protection magic. You might need to get into drawing some sigils on some rocks and placing them around the place. You might need to up your energetic
game
as well as purification.
We'll go with one of the ones too, because a lot of people might be looking at us and saying, okay, you're talking about everything that relates to witchcraft and all this kind of stuff, and I don't believe in anything of that. Okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
You don't need to. But there are ways to energetically protect yourself. And if you are one of those people that believes in the Reiki and all of those different energetic practices, you can actually call on your own energetic protections and shields and enhance those. So take the time to focus on them, reestablish the boundaries and the borders.
My only sort of thing with that is that I like to have a multifaceted approach. I like to do things in combination, because the more defenses, the better, right? So have your protective white light, have your protective crystals, do your sound cleansing on your house, do your smoke cleansing, your sprays, lifting the vibration or whatever of your place, making it all nice and shit, but do it in combination. I see a lot of people just going, I just called on whoever and then put up a white light barrier. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, if that energy is already on you, it's already attached to you, you've done nothing but maybe band-aid it for a minute. Like you want
exactly. It got through that before.
Cleansed and banished. You need to put the walls up, you know?
And I think this is where I'm not criticizing New Age people, though it's going to sound like I am. I've had people tell me on numerous occasions, if you just get that, nothing can penetrate that white light barrier that you create. There is nothing that can penetrate it. And I'm like going, well, dude, one, should I really be creating something that doesn't allow anything to penetrate? Because isn't that exactly the opposite of being an energetic being?
Yeah.
Like the whole point is connections, right? So I find that a really flawed concept. And it's like you can have the best immune system in the world and you come across something that you're not haven't been exposed to yet, and you're going to go down like a sack of spuds because you're not used to it. So and I think with the energetic white light, one, I don't want to lock the world away from me. Like I think that's the actual opposite of what I should be trying to achieve. But I understand conceptually they see that as like the fortress.
Yeah.
And that's how they see it. But it's just like an immune system. It's only dealt with what it's had to deal with before. And if you're already feeling it, like you've said, it's gotten past that barrier. So
I just see it as like a sage sort of antibiotic approach. You know, like yes, you're stripping all the bad, but you're stripping all the good as well. And you need the good to have a healthy auric system and a healthy, you know, energetic system, a healthy being and well-being, you know, physically and emotionally. We need to be connected as energetic beings and, you know, be in touch with those different frequencies and things like that. We can't just be omnipotent, like we can't just be omnipotent and immune to all of it, because then we experience none of it, you know. It's like
exactly.
And all you've managed to do then is, again, you've stripped yourself of everything. So now
and you're locking away all connections.
And then that just creates more of a tunnel for bad shit to funnel through.
So we would be saying, look, you'll know what works for you. You've obviously got things in your arsenal. If you're feeling this way, obviously your mindset, 100%, work on your mindset. Work on what you've got around you, whether it be crystals, whether it's herbs, plants, aromatics, all of those different things. Also getting some of that into you. Like, you know how they say you ground yourself by eating potatoes and you're eating something hearty. There's nothing wrong also with using these plant things as long as they're edible. There are things that we know rejuvenate us. We know there's things that are cleansing. That we can use. Don't just think about it as putting it in a room. You can also put it in the temple.
It doesn't have to be a full ritual. Like it's the day-to-day stuff. Like you said with the food. I mean, there's lots of things, lots of different ways you can use different, you know, plants, vegetables and things like that for grounding, for nourishment, for protection. Like rosemary. My God, rosemary is so powerful yet underrated.
Exactly. And I
lamb chop. Well, some of us do. I like a lamb chop, but you know, rosemary in the crock pot. Let that stick. Have a little bit of an intention infused in there to.
I even think citrus zest. Citrus zest, I think, is an amazingly potent one to get into you. And it's not just because I think to myself, well, it boosts my immune system for one, but I actually feel energetically. I don't know why. You can tell me later when we do something on plants as to why I feel such a connection with zest of my citrus. But I do. Okay. So we've given some people things to do. We've given people some ideas of where it comes from. I'm actually going to just reiterate the fact that we're saying that juju actually is a magical practice that's normally linked to ancestors and objects that can be infused with certain energies. What I've got here too is mojo.
Yes.
Did you come up?
Across that, and it was very much along the same vein as juju, if not probably more amplified.
Yes, and it's very similar. And again, there's this confusion about it because I've got mojo is the Yoruba of West Africa have a sacred word, mojoba, which means simply thank you. And the origin of the word mojos lies there. And basically, it's about divine guidance, glory, but it's come to mean your own personal power. So Austin Powers needed to get his mojo back.
It's the first thing
So
I think of. It's Austin Powers.
Powers,
Mojo, baby.
exactly.
Yeah.
But then other people are saying no, it doesn't come from that. It comes from the a different word meaning witchcraft magic of moko, which is where mojo came from. And then it got into jazz music and then just became confused. Again, it's something that it sounds very simple, and its origins, I think, well, I believe more that it lies in that gift of thanks for, your health, your prosperity, your well-being, your what makes you you, and it reflects as personal charm and charisma and your energies because you're in that place where you're feeling good and you're feeling gratitude and you're feeling all of that.
I think that also speaks to, like, I mean, even the word juju, there's some sources that say it's French,
Yes,
which relates to
juju,
juju, which
meaning plaything, isn't it? Meaning a play.
plaything. And
Yeah.
kind of
And they also said Jew can mean to throw, which is why they thought it was throwing a spell.
interesting, yeah, because of that throw of energy or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but then also you've got the Hansa language, which is like a combination of like Franco, West African, indigenous lingos,
Yep.
slang, and they've translated that as fetish or evil spirit. So
Yep.
and it's interesting that you brought mojo up as well, because with that we've got that fusion again of cultures, of beliefs, and that speaks to etymology of words and how they develop. So, and then how we use them today, locked in those fusions of original meanings or connotations surrounding them.
And I think it especially with these things, mojo, juju, mumbo jumbo even came up when I was
Yes.
talking about this. And obviously, we're talking about things that come from Africa, that they've cultural significance, that what their belief systems, and for reasons that were completely outside of their control, it went all around the world.
Yeah.
And then it went all the way around the world and to a certain degree locked away from its origins
Yeah.
because it only then had the memories of the people because they didn't have any contact with their ancestors anymore or their cultural roots completely. And it morphed.
Held on
And
to those roots through hoodoo and voodoo,
yeah.
you know.
And that's why it's changed. It's kept its soul,
Mm.
but it's changed. And I think I don't like how it's changed and the reason of the why of the I don't like the impetus that caused the change,
Yeah.
but I like anything that changes,
Yeah.
that evolves
I think, and
with the
that's the
people.
main thing. I think it adapted. They to keep their culture and their ancestors and their connection to, their country and where they came from. They had to evolve and adapt, and the easiest way to do that was to incorporate little bits of Christianity to essentially camouflage,
Yeah,
then among this in this new place, among these new people that they found themselves
yeah,
enslaved to, endeavored to. And so
yeah,
I find it fascinating that a lot of the saints that are called upon and the loas in Hudo are actually derived from Christian saints.
yeah. And here's the thing, right? There's a lot of things in Christianity that are beautiful.
Mm,
Unfortunately, a lot of the practices done by the religion are
horrendous.
disgraceful.
Yeah. And not
Um,
to mention that they have also done the same thing, building up their religion, taking itty bits of peoples and places in which they've conquered to
oh,
make
so
their
many things. That would be a whole episode in itself if we want to discuss all of that.
exactly.
So many things from the Holy Grail all the way down to the crosses, all the way down to candles, incense,
rosaries, all of it.
All of it.
This is not something that's new within human tradition, and I just think that hats off to, you know. I
thought I was going to lose one of my pearls.
Now,
one thing I did want to go back to science for just 1 second. Just for 1 second, and it's not quantum. It can all be, it's not quantum, it's psychology. In terms of bad juju, and we're like, when you feel like you've got some bad juju going on, we actually do have something that's called a negativity bias. Like humanity is programmed with a negativity bias, which is, it talks about the brain's tendency to give more attention and weight to negative experiences and emotions than positive ones. Now, that makes perfect sense. We've analyzed this, and we were actually, I can't remember the name of it, but there was a theory that the brain works basically on minimizing risk, like it's a risk management system. So it's not really focused and functioning on creating happiness. It's focusing and functioning on not dying and not being put into an unexpected circumstances where it doesn't know what is going on. So if we have that system and we do have a negativity bias, we basically only see the shit. And the more of those things that come up, it's more, our ability to see the positive becomes really difficult. So obviously, if you survived at the end of the day, you've had more positive things that have gone on than negative, right? Because you literally made it to bed that night. But we only see the stubbed toe. Oh, I stubbed my toe, and I lost my earring, and then this happens, and then my bloody fingernail broke, and it was just
back into the string of bad luck. And then, as always, there's no accountability in that. Well, maybe if I actually just stopped, took a breath, and had a fucking look at how I've been today and what funk I'm in, this self-imposed funk. My day might
maybe you stubbed your toe because you were in a fucking mood and you were kicking your kids' clothing out of the way because they hadn't folded it up and put it away, and you'd been asking them for 3 to 4 to 5 weeks, and then as you kick the clothing away, you got, now I'm just spitballing here. I would not know what that feels like.
The piling of the piles of the washing and the dishes and the having to do everything you fucking self all the time.
No, but we're just like trying to think of things here. It's not any personal experience on any of these things.
Not at all.
Okay, so Tay, is bad juju catching?
I think at that point you become the walking bad juju. And
yes, you are. Your mood is the juju.
But you know,
and you have to own a little bit of that.
Literally. But you know what I find in that? I find sometimes to get out of that funk, you have to have those cataclysms. Like, it's just like the universe's way of like shaking you and going, wake the fuck up to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
As you think it is. And then you like, because it's all gone to shit, nothing can get much worse. So you actually have forced to stop and sit down and be like, okay, well, where do I go from here? And there's something cleansing and cathartic about that, you know, in those situations.
Oh yeah,
your bad
absolutely
blessing. But
because sometimes you just need that to shift your perspective.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we get so laser beam focused.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell it is, and we want the world to go our way all the time.
Yes.
And we want to be the rulers of everything within our domain.
I think
all the time. I do anyway. Yeah. I'm a fucking control freak. and I want everything to go my way.
I think the energy at the moment is really speaking to that in volumes. Like, there is so much call for change, and everyone is just having these tower moments, you know. But I think sometimes surrendering to the crumble is probably the best thing that's going to happen to us, and that like being forced into being our own change, to facilitating that change and that shift of luck, you know, that moving from the calamities to actual abundance and prosperity and getting what you want and need, like that. Radical mindset shift is very much needed. And I think a lot of people are really, especially in the last 6 months, have been really experiencing that, but quite viscerally.
Yeah.
And having an awareness of, oh yeah, maybe that was me. Maybe I'm pushing so much that I'm actually leading to just this catastrophe after catastrophe. Now, I'm not saying that in a like a violence way or
no, just exactly.
General.
No, I'm with you 100%. And that's where, although I hate to admit it, the mindset of you make your own luck.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the wording nor the terminology, but I agree with the concept that sometimes you just have to take a pause.
Yeah. Sometimes we get in our own way. And it's easier to blame external forces than it is to actually acknowledge that. Like, and because once you acknowledge it, you're aware of it now, and it's hard to fall back into those patterns of
and once you acknowledge it, you retain you take some of the power away from it because you've named it. And you've taken some of the power back to yourself. Because you go, it is me, and I'm in control of that.
Moving on too, like I know that pattern now. I can't repeat that pattern now, because if I do, I am the cause of my own misery.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've somehow managed to go new age without even meaning to.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's new age. I think it's probably more psychology and awareness. And
Tay's like going, don't you put that on me. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
I think there's a very big difference between being the cause of your own disasters and having something actually sent to you. Because just tidbit, you know how hard it is to actually hex, jinx, curse people and send bad juju to people? It takes a fucking lot of effort. Like all these illegal curses and things that people carry on about, that's probably just like bullshit that they have passed down from generation to generation through their own happenings and whatnot, and this can happen through trauma. This can happen through just, living in a certain way for so long that these mindsets are ingrained. Like these supposed familial curses have manifested because that is the belief that's been perpetuated. But to actually sit down and actively curse or hex or jinx someone or send someone shit, that takes methodical approach. And
I would have thought it would need to have continually be fueled.
It needs,
like it's not self-fulfilling. Like you have to keep energizing that thing. It's not solar powered, man. So
no, it's not a one and done type of spout. It has to be fed. It has to be fed. Like think of it as the walls in your head, that people go on about. One's the darkness and then one's the light or whatever. Like you've got to feed that energy. And then especially if you're like petitioning external beings and things to like help you do this stuff, they demand devotions, they demand offerings, they demand energy. It's a reciprocal relationship. What do I get out of this for doing it for you? Because
exactly. And how long are we going to do this shit for?
Exactly.
I got places to be, people to see.
Exactly. They've got their own other worldly matters that they need to attend to, and some other mortal affairs they want to meddle in. Like why should I prioritize this for you? And that goes to like the building of relationships with spirits and things like that. Like and I think a lot of people, with experience in this type of stuff, witchcraft and that, it's a waste of time. It has to be done in special circumstances.
I can't.
Like it's not just I'm going to hex that person today, or I'm going to put a sour jar in their front lawn or whatever, like it's just not something.
Hey, I struggle making my gravy from scratch some days, right? Like I struggle with that, So you really, I don't know how much you'd have to really fucking piss me off. To make me take the time and going, oh, am I going to do this, something that I really enjoy and love, for the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or am I going to try and fuck you up right royally? No. I haven't got that dedication to the task. You have to have done something pretty bad. And you know what? I reckon if that was the case, I would have punched you in the nose already. Anyway, not that I'm advocating for violence in any way. I'm just saying to go to this level of fucking someone over.
Yeah.
So, and this is not helping. TikTok's not helping us with all the baby witches going on and talking about their hexes and their curses and
honestly
their
makes me
jinxes.
laugh. I don't understand where supposed baby witches get off hexing people. Like, do you even have your protections in place? What happens if that comes right back at you? Because people know deflection magic. All it takes is a little return to sender or some mirror spells or whatever.
Yeah.
You are,
and I would suspect that there's
working.
There's a whole bunch of people out there that just naturally have that kind of deflection spells in place. You don't need to be a witch to have some natural protections.
Exactly, and
because you've got your ancestors there. We've all got ancestors.
You don't know who is standing behind that person.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not as if the person is, oh, well, you know, they're not a witch, so I'm okay. Oh, there's certain things that come naturally. We're all inherently got this kind of stuff in us.
Yeah.
So,
I think
alrighty. So Bad JUJU, it is catching. Quantum physics proves that.
Yeah.
Because of so we know that. So yes, it's catching.
And I think in instances it's catching because we're just walking around willy-nilly, not, you know, not up.
We're picking up whatever energy's on the ground, like we're rubbish collectors, and we have no discernment. Yeah, and we just need to.
Instances of like psychic cords and things like that, which run from interacting with other people. It's not necessarily them throwing shit at you because they can. I mean, they might, but it might just add a little bit of fuel to the fire that was already there, you know? Yeah.
So I actually quite love this one because it's something that has come from, we've got its origins of where it came from, and juju being actually a practice or even like a fetish or a charm or an amulet, talisman, all of those things.
Yeah.
And we've got that culturally all around the world with evil eyes and all of that kind of stuff, protective things as well as you know, things that you can throw at other people. So and now we've got the how it's morphed and means something else, which is in line with its origins, even though it's different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is catching. Just check out your quantum physics if you're confused about that, or we can do it. We can do another podcast on quantum physics whenever you guys want.
It's
so
not an episode without some science.
It's got to be. Now, what are we talking about next week?
That's your job.
I know. This is going to be, oh my goodness, with what I've been reading lately, this is going to be a good one. And Tim has got to get on the books. We are doing Alien Explorers. How close have our encounters been?
Oh my goodness. So we were talking about that the other day with like ancient aliens and stuff, and we've got a few opinions in this house about ancient aliens.
This is going to be this is going to be hard to research because there's so much shit out there. So trying to get down to the nuts and bolts. And I think we have to say this with the understanding that we're going to have to go down the rabbit holes and follow some of the most crazy ass concepts.
Yeah.
And our fact checking is going to have to be minimal.
Yeah.
Because you can't fact check all of this. Sometimes this is just going to be for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
And talking about what people believe.
Yes. I think that's the thing. There's a lot of celestial alien worship happening out there nowadays. You know, we've got our light workers and our star seeds and our indigo children, and then we've got people who, you know, believe in the Anunnaki and the fact that ancient aliens must have built the pyramids, and then we've got abductees, like people who
absolutely this is gonna be fun. We're gonna probe right into this topic.
Just do that. That was disgraceful.
I should be ashamed of myself. Are we going to cut that out? No.
No. Oh, well,
okay.
As always, people, remember, curiosity may have killed a few cats. Not because any bad juju was sent their way, because they were just in a real funk that day and were not watching where the fuck they were going and accidentally walked out in front of that car or some shit. But luckily, luckily he had a lucky rabbit's foot on him. So he just missed the tire by an inch. But there's no growth.
The little grease around the collar.
Yeah, he's got a little grease like here protects him. He's all energy from the bad jujus and the chance happenings of life. But there's no growth in ignorant bliss. So I think the lesson today is look into the history, the actual history of some of these words, traditions, and things that we just spit without a second thought, and see how it got to what we believe in today. And then that will make a whole lot more sense. And then you can use it in proper context.
Heaven forbid we should use things in proper context. That was a great one. I really enjoyed that.
Yes, me too. And we will see you next week for aliens.
Aliens.
Aliens. Bye.